You ever you ever go to a conference like this? That's this water. Is that the one that Christian drank out of? Get grief, man. Don't put that up. I'll be panic stricken and drink it and then I'll have a disease or something. Hey, you ever go to a conference like this and think, I can't even remember what the other sermons were about. I'm so tired. And maybe not you. You ever feel that way? Liars. I used to go to pastor's school with Brother Hiles, and I would be so tired. I think we've heard 9,000 sermons. My life's been changed so many times, I don't remember my name. But I'm glad you're here. Could I want to survey you a little bit so you help me. I should have done this the first night I was here. But I preach here in the school, the chapel, the college, and sometimes on church Thursday nights. But just for you, how many of you go to a Christian school? Raise your hands up. All right, good. So I was thinking, how many of you, and I didn't, I couldn't have raised my hand. I didn't go to a Christian school. And I couldn't raise my hand for this one either. How many of you live in a home with your mom and your dad, whether it be stepdad or not? My dad left. I had a single mom for a long time. Okay, a lot of you. How many of you live in a home with a single parent, just a mom or a dad? And that's how I was for a long time. How about you live in a home with grandparents or somebody besides a mom and dad? And I did that for a while. For a while, I didn't have mom or dad around. All right, good. There's nothing wrong with any of that. It's just where we live. It's the life we're in. And maybe we would look a little bit covetous at somebody else. But you know what? I'm 57. After all these years of watching, you know what I've noticed? Doesn't make any difference. I listened to Brother Gray talk about hurting his mom. I started crying. I grew up in a single-parent home. I grew up in an unsaved home. I grew up never in church, never reading the Bible. I could not imagine hurting my mom. I'd die. I couldn't hurt my mom. She's 79. I take care of her. She lived in a house I owned on my property, but now I sold that and I got a house out kind of in a little rural area. My mom and dad moved out there last year, and then my dad passed away. My mom's out there. My sister moved in with her so she wouldn't be alone, but I take care of her. I went out the other day and planted trees for her and hooked up water for her, and I called her on the way driving out here Monday, wanted to just talk to her. She spends a lot of hours alone. My dad drank too much and left, and maybe not the best of homes, and my mom worked. I remember my mom leaving at 6:30 in the morning and coming home at 9 o'clock at night. And we took care of ourselves. How many of you pretty much take care of yourselves? How many of you wish you could take care of yourselves? I did. My brother was 3 years older than me. And again, I'm not grumbling about anything. That's where God put me. I'm not going to complain about it. To be honest, I like my life. Were there some things that didn't go right? Sure. But I want to encourage you. You go from Brother Joseph to me to Brother Gray. Could you imagine spending 2 years and your mom and dad feeling like that? I can't even fathom it. I think, remember night before last, I said, how many of you never got a whooping? I stood up. I never got spanked. No way would I hurt my mom and dad. I graduated from high school. I promise you, I had never disobeyed my mom and dad. Now, maybe when I was little, I was scared to death my mom would kill me. So maybe my mom spanked me so much when I was real little, I was fearful. She might have put the fear factor in there and it's all blocked out because I was so little. I have no idea. But you know what, that lady, I don't know why. I don't even know why I love my mom. I know some people don't. I love my mom. I love my dad. I love my stepdad. Took a few years to get it worked out. But, I sat there listening to Brother Gray, and I think, oh, the hurt that you could never erase. You hurt your parents, you can never undo that. I could tell you this, though. My brother hurt my mom and dad. My older brother Didn't get saved until he was 50. I was 47, he was 50. I got saved at 18. He got saved 30 years later. Can I tell you something? My brother went out with the wrong crowd, drank what he shouldn't drink, smoked what he shouldn't smoke, got in trouble. You know something? My mom and my brother have a great relationship. Because later in life, he got things turned around. Now, he can never undo the hurt. He hurt my parents. But could I just say this? If your world is a little bit of a mess, you can turn that thing around whenever you want. But those of you who are close to mom and dad, can I tell you, just don't lose it. You can't get that stuff back. I can tell you, I have no regrets toward my parents. My natural father, as far as I know, died unsaved. But I have no regrets in my relationship to him. He left when I was in 4th grade, but I was never unkind to him. I don't think he was ever unkind to me. Might have been, I don't know. I don't think so. But he never got saved. My mom married again some years later when I was in high school, and that stepdad really became my best friend. Took 3 or 4 years to get adjusted, but we were so close. He oversaw a bunch of the ministries in our church for me, and I've got no regrets how I've treated my stepdad. Now, I'm not going to, Brother Gray preached, that was a great sermon, but I'll tell you what, you don't want to look back thinking you hurt your parents. I love that when I get out of here in a few minutes, when we're done here, I'll get in the car, start driving home. I'll call my mom. And my mom will be glad to hear from me. And, man, we love each other. We don't spend as much time together as I'd like. I'm busy, but I talk to her almost every day. Of course, she's at church. She sings in the choir. She works in one of our rest homes. She runs our school musicals. And by the way, my mom, you know, my mom got saved the first time I preached. She was my first, I'd led souls one-on-one to Christ, but my first public convert was my mom. What an incredible life. Young people you're in a good school, you have good parents, maybe step-parents, maybe grandparents, whoever. You got a good home, run with that thing. It's a good life. I want you to know something. I love, the biggest hurt in my life right now is the people I could have helped that somehow I missed it. Somehow I wasn't the right person at the right time, and I could have helped somebody and I didn't, and they're hurt. Not that I hurt them, it just, I wasn't there at the right time to help them. Man, I love my life, and I want to encourage you. And again, I didn't get saved till I was out of high school. But you can have a good life. Look at your Bibles with me to 2 Corinthians chapter 6. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. I'm going to give you 2 simple things this morning. And should I use one of these that matter? Can I use this mic down here? Maybe not. There's no light on. There's a green light. Ben, my man. Thank you, buddy. You look at 2 Corinthians 6 for a minute. I'm going to give you, how many of you can ride a skateboard pretty good? Raise your hands. All right. Can you flip a skateboard over and land on it and keep riding it? How many can do that? How many of you could jump a skateboard onto something like a handrail and slide down it and land? Anybody can do that? All right, you can do that? Any idea how many times you fell down before you could do that? 1,000,000 times? A lot, because he can't count to 1,000,000. A lot of times. You ever watch it? Any of you teenagers? I don't see anybody who looks like they qualify. Any teenager can slam a basketball? Nobody here. And an 8-foot rim. You know, it's not just jumping high. I played college basketball. I'm 6'4", and I was the second shortest person on my college team. There's only one guy I played college ball with that was shorter than me. Now, in high school, I played with some amazing athletes. I had a friend that was 5'4" and could slam dunk a basketball. The guy was phenomenal. You know, he'd jump in the air and go over my head. Pow! Slam the ball. He was amazing. And you talk about embarrassing. Some 6'6" guy goes to shoot the ball, and this little 5'4" guy jumps up and goes, slap, and slaps it up into the bleachers, man. That's so fun. I'm glad I liked him. He was my friend. You don't want him doing it to you. But you know, before, I just tell you this, even if you tried in a 6-foot rim or an 8-foot rim to slam a basketball, the first time you try, you're an idiot. Because not just jumping up there, unless you're on the little kid one, you know, you just throw it in there. It's timing and it's ball control, even though you're tall. How many times have we seen a professional basketball player run down the basketball court, he's up in there and goes, kapowie, and the ball goes, sing, and all the bleachers laugh at him. You know what? If you're going to do anything well, it's going to take some time and it's going to take some practice. When I was, hold 2 Corinthians 6, don't lose that because I'm going to have you turn there in a minute. We're going to read it. I was 6th grade. Anybody 6th grade in here? A few 6th graders. I was 6th grade. And our family had no money. I always had holes in my shoes. I'd get up in the morning and I'd find a cardboard box, put my foot down, draw around my foot, and I'd cut I always carried a pocket knife. I mean, any real man carries a pocket knife. I always carry a pocket knife. Buck knife. Buck's a Christian company. You buy a Buck knife, and wrapped around it is Buck's testimony of how he got saved. And he said the reason our company prospers is because our company belongs to Jesus Christ, the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of Buck Corporation. And because we trust him, he blesses us. I'd like you to trust him and get saved like I did. On. Anyway, great testimony. Anyway, take my pocket knife out and cut around where my foot was in the cardboard, put that cardboard into my shoes, and that's how I'd get through the day. We didn't have anything. And if I fell down and tore a hole in my jeans, that hole was there a long time because I wasn't getting a new pair of jeans. And I wasn't getting a new pair of tennis shoes. And I wasn't getting a new shirt. I mean, my mom would buy me a pair of jeans, and they'd be long, and they would be 6 inches above my ankles before I got my next pair of jeans. We just didn't have anything. And it wasn't because anybody was horrible, it was just life. We didn't have any money. And I think we had a good home. We were just poor. And there's nothing wrong with poor. It's not as easy to go to school poor as it is when you got things. But the fact is, at 6th grade, I decided I'm not going to get to go to college. No one's going to have enough money to pay my way to school. So I was watching John Wooden 100 years ago, the UCLA Bruins. He was the greatest coach at UCLA history. And I said, I heard about a scholarship. And these guys, if you were good enough, they'd pay you to go to their college. And I said, I'm going to do that. So at 6th grade, I started dribbling basketball. I'd lay in bed. We never had carpet in our house because we had a little bit down one hallway. But in my room, I had linoleum floors, kitchen, the whole house was linoleum. We had cracks in our floors that get so big that at night, if you flip the light on, these giant roaches would go, and they'd all run down the cracks in the floor. You try to stomp on them, see how many bugs you can stomp on before they get down the cracks. That was fun in our house. But anyway, life in the city. But I lay in bed at night with my basketball. And sometimes my mom would say, Bruce, it's late, stop. So I'd stop dribbling. I got where I could dribble a basketball riding my bicycle. I'd ride down to the gym, dribble a basketball. I'd ride my bicycle down to the gym. And I dribbled that basketball everywhere I went. I dribbled a basketball. I'd be standing on the side of the court waiting to go into play because I was young. 6th graders go to a public gym. You're not going to get picked very often. And they stand there dribbling. And if there was a chair, which there normally isn't, I'd sit there and I'd dribble between my legs, back and forth, watching them play until people got tired enough they'd let a 6th grader play. And then I was a 7th grader playing. And then I got to the gym often enough that people started realizing, you know what, I'm not the worst guy there. Once in a while I'd get picked on a team. But I wasn't playing. I'd be walking up and down the court dribbling my right hand, but I'd dribble with my left hand because I didn't want anybody to know I was right-handed or left-handed. And I want to be able to dribble as good right-handed as left-handed, shoot as good right-handed as left-handed, and I just spent a lot of time. Now, a lot of times, like with the skateboard, I've never ridden a skateboard much because I fell over and it hurts. You bounce the ball off your foot, it goes the way you get it. You fall on a skateboard, you get a face like yours. It's terrible. So one of my assistant pastors, Justin Soto, he pastors today up in Sacramento, and he'd go down dressed like this. He'd go down to where the skateboarders were and say, "Hey, man, that looks pretty good." And he'd flip his skateboard and do all these crazy things. The kids go, "Wow!" And you know what's funny? He even had his pants pulled up while he did it. It still works. You don't have to have your pants fall down to be a skateboard rider. I don't get that, but anyway. You know what happened? My junior year in high school, I had letter after letter after letter from universities wanting me to play basketball for them. How did I get there? And by the way, it wasn't because I was tall. I'm tall compared to you maybe, but I'm not tall compared to Joseph. My dad was 2 or 3 inches taller than me, but it was a few things. I like to give you a few things to help you be the next Brother Joseph or the next Bruce Goddard or whoever, the next deacon. Some of you could be the next Brother Carrillo. That would be scary. If I was going to ride skateboard with you a lot, you know what I'd have to do? I'd have to get tell me, a skateboard, right? If I'm going to ride a skateboard, what do I need? A skateboard. That's really intelligent. And if I was going to really be good, you know what I'd end up doing? I'd end up changing my dress, right? Because if I'm going to hang around the skateboarder guys, I'm going to dress like the skateboard guys dress. Isn't that right? Come on. No, really? Come on. Yeah, but that's not how you got good. Or you're not very good yet. If I was going to be a good basketball player, what would I have to get? A basketball. And I'd probably have to go play a lot of. And when I started out, I probably wouldn't be very good, would I? No, but I don't care I'm not very good. And you don't care you fall off the skateboard. You just try. You just go out there and try. And a lot of times I spent on the side of I'd go out to the gym, would be full. I'd go outside and I'd just shoot at the basketball hoop. And I'd just shoot from 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet. And I'd just shoot. Maybe I didn't get picked on a team, so I'd go shoot. You know why? Because I was going to be good. I'd get to where I'd go down. Make sure it's not my phone ringing. It's not my phone. It's off. I'd go down to the basketball courts when no one was there. And this is when I was in high school and college. And I'd dribble all the way down to the end of the court and make a layup and grab the rebound. And I'd run and dribble all the way down to the other side, make a layup, get the rebound, run all the way down, dribbling down. And I would just do layups, full court run, dribbling layup, right hand, left hand, back and forth. I'd do that for an hour. Now look, you know what happens after a while? I started hanging around guys that played basketball, and I wore my hair like they wore their hair. I wore my clothes like they wore their clothes. I didn't go down to the gym dressed like I am now. And you know what happens? Pretty soon I start talking to people about basketball. I started watching the Lakers. And I knew this is when Jerry West was playing basketball. I didn't know Jerry West played basketball. But anyway, I saw him when he made a 63-foot shot to win the championship. That's from the other free throw line. And he made it at the buzzer. The buzzer sounded as the ball's in the air. And won the championship game. And that was pretty incredible. I watched basketball all the time. And you know what I'd do then? When I got into my last years of high school, I would take a week and save up my money, and I'd go to a basketball camp at a college or university so I could hang around really good basketball players. It's kind of like what you're doing these 3 days. I'd take my money and my time. I'd spend 3 days or 4 days doing nothing but hanging around older, better ball players. Can I just tell you, it's not everybody that can make a college basketball team. Because as much as I tried, when I walked into a university floor in the gym for the first time, I thought, I am not very good. Those guys are incredibly good. But can I tell you, as a Christian, you could all be good. You could all be good. You know, God's looking today. My youth pastor, many of you know Brother Victor. My youth pastor, he's this tall. He was 9 when I knocked on his door. He and one of his teenagers just started church 6 months ago. in the next town over from us, and we work together on it, and things are great. You don't have to be tall to be the pastor. Brother Joe Esposito is not tall. He's got this, to me, the premier church in Southern California. You know what's great about Christianity? You don't have to be skinny. Good for some of you. I don't know if you saw him, but one of my boys came Monday night, Tyler. He's dating the skinniest, they're in college, skinniest, prettiest little girl. And Tyler is a monster. He's as wide as he is tall. And he's got a really good voice. This morning I was watching on my phone, watching him sing a special with 4 of our high school boys. He's a senior in college. And him and Jamie are just trying to figure out when they can get married. But he's you know what? You don't have to be tall and skinny. You don't have to be tall and skinny to be a preacher. You could be short and round. And you know what I found out about God's people? It's God using people. Now, quickly, let me just show you a couple things this morning. How can you become successful in your Christian life? Because most of you have pretty good homes, but the fact is we're all different. I'm different than Brother Gray. Brother Gray and I are different from Brother Joseph. We're different from Brother Nathan Ross. So look at this verse. I want to show you just a couple of simple things that you can do this morning to be successful. And it doesn't matter. Maybe the other day, last Sunday, we had a brand new guy come to church. I mean, tall, good looking, clean cut, in a suit. And the guy he played for a year in some symphony somewhere as a professional, some kind of brass. I'm not sure what he played, but anyway, some kind of brass. This guy is so sharp. You know where we met him? In jail. Guys in our jail ministry met him. He got saved. He got out last week, and he was in church on Sunday. Something went wrong. He spent some time in jail. And he said, I'm so grateful that I went to jail. I said, oh, really? He said, I met Dawn, and I met John, and I got saved, and I'm at church. Man, I'd do it all again. So, oh, good. Man, I'd just not get in trouble and get saved anyway. But anyway, God doesn't care. Look at 2 Corinthians 6. Would you look down, if you would, at verse 17. 2 Corinthians 6, 17. Wherefore, everybody got that? Second, because there's 2 books written to the church at Corinth, 1st and 2nd Corinthians. You want the second one. 2 Corinthians 6, 17. Wherefore, come out from among them and be ye what? What's that next word? Be ye what? Separate, saith the Lord. And what are the next 2 words? Touch not the unclean thing. You know what? There's some unclean things you shouldn't touch. There's some things you shouldn't go near. Don't go near pornography. Don't go near vulgarity. Don't go near drugs and liquor. Look, don't even touch it. Stay away from it. Be separate from it. Look on in verse 18. This is what's important to me. And I will be a what? Father to you. I'll be a father to you. Can I tell you this morning, you know what's something incredible? I'm looking for something God made. There's nothing real in here. I'm looking for I don't know what. How about this? A leather wallet. God made cows. Right? We all agree? So even that's not a living cow, but it was a part of a cow once. So did God make the cow? Is he the cow's father? He's the cow's maker. And here you are, and let's just say you're not saved. He's not your father. He's your maker. He's your creator. But you know what God's waiting to be? He's waiting to be your father. He's waiting to be your friend. He's waiting. I know a lot of you by your face, but I know Joanna. They call you JoJo, huh? No, your sister does sometimes. I know her because she's the problem. In the back, I know Patty. I know some people here that mean a lot to me. I know them. They're people I love, people I care about at Pacific Baptist. Lots of you I know, but there's some that are very dear to me. Look at that verse. Come out from among them and be ye what? Be ye what? Everybody say it. Come out from among them and be ye Separate, saith the Lord. And what are the next two words? Touch not. Touch not the unclean thing. And then look at that next word in verse 18. And I will be a what? Father to you. You know what I want? God could be my creator. God could be my savior when I get saved. God could be my father. Now, let's just be honest here. I know Joseph. He's not my son. If he called me and said, Brother Goddard, I need help with something, could you? He could fill in the blank. I don't know anything he would ask for that if I was capable that I wouldn't do for him. But last night, my son, who's Josh, same age as you, isn't he? Somewhere on there, 28, 29? Josh, my oldest, is about the same age. Josh gets more than Joseph. He was born into my family. But I'll tell you, he wouldn't get much more. Because we've gotten closer and closer. And as you get close to somebody, they start earning rights they really don't have. I know Nano down here. But not as well as Josiah, my youngest son, who's 16. If Josiah wants to drive my car, I let him. I won't let you drive my car. Maybe in a few years, we stay close. You can drive my car, all right? I'd let Joanna drive my car. You wouldn't drive it if you wanted. I trust you. You wouldn't take it if you didn't know how. You see, what this is all about is relationship. If I said I need somebody 6 feet tall with dark hair and left-handed, only a few of you could do that. But God said, if you'll, what's the first thing? If you'll come out from among them and be ye what? Separate. If you'll be what? Separate. And then he says, and what are the next two words we said? Touch not. If you'll be separate and you'll touch not the unclean thing, he says, I will receive you. I'll be a what? Father. Do you know anybody can do that? Anybody can do that. You're short, chunky, tall, skinny, you can't read, you're good at math, you're like me. I've got to go to our teenagers and say, figure out my phone for me. I'm not a tech person. I don't want to be a tech person. I don't trust myself. I do know how to turn it on and off. If God were to say, I'll bless you if you don't wear glasses, a whole bunch of you are out. If God said, I'll bless you as long as you don't mess up, a bunch of us, especially the older us in the room, we couldn't be blessed. But you know, you want that relationship with God that makes you the child-father relationship. How do you get it? Let's go back. What's the first thing? Come out from among them in verse 16 and be ye what? Or 17? Separate. Be ye what? Separate. Look, we'll stop and go eat lunch as soon as you get these words down. It's all right? Ready? So what are we supposed to do? Come out from among them and be ye separate. All right? You want to eat lunch. Good. I'm walking out last night. There was 1.5 pizzas left out there. And somebody said, Brother Goddard, you want a free piece of pizza? Well, of course, you know, is the Pope a Catholic? Am I an idiot? I want and his cold pizza. You know what? Cold pizza is still good, isn't it? Doesn't even matter. So come out from among them and be ye what? Separate. And then the next two words, touch not. There's some unclean things we're not supposed to touch. And look up here. If you will be what? What's our first word? If you will be? And if you will touch not the unclean thing, God says, I'll be your father. As quick as that. Now, if I were to say, I need somebody who's really good at English. They know participles and gerunds, and they know prepositional phrases, and I don't know what any of that stuff means. I know what gerbils are. That's a little fuzzy thing like a hamster. Dangled participles and hung gerunds and all that stuff. How many of you could tell me what a gerund is? I'm not going to ask you. Anybody know what a gerund is? Good. That means we're unified. None of us know what it is. But I know you're not supposed to hang your gerunds. Maybe it's a grandma. Don't hang your grandma. I have no idea. But anyway. But God didn't say, I want you to be perfect at English. God said, you ready? You're paying attention? God said, I want you to come out from among them and be. And then I want you to. And then we're good. Is that hard? That's not hard. Look, you can do that. You can do that. You say, well, I'm living with my grandpa and grandma. You can come out from among them and be, what is it, be? And you can touch not the unclean thing, and you and the Father are close. You say, I'm living in a foster home, or I'm living with a single mom. You know what you have to do? Come out from among them and be, and touch not, and the Father will receive you. It's not that hard. If God said you have to be under 120 pounds, and I'll receive you. Anybody here under 120 pounds, raise your hand. I was under 120 pounds in the 4th grade. But God didn't say that. Ready? Look up here. We got to all get through this. God didn't say you got to be under 120 pounds. He said you have to be what? Separate and touch not the unclean thing, and then I'll be a father to you. All right, everybody got that? Those 3 things. Ready? Now go to Romans chapter 12. Romans 12. If you're in Corinthians, go right before Corinthians to Romans chapter 12. I want you to understand, God isn't making this Christian life hard. Now, sometimes doing it's hard. Come out from among them and be ye separate. That means come on up here. What's your name? Andrew. Come on up here, Andrew. You need help getting up that step, man? Oh, he can do it. Good job, Andrew. Andrew's my friend. Now, he's a pot smoking, cigarette sucking, beer drinking, dope head. But you know what? I like him. You know, there's some pretty nice people out in the world who maybe they don't do all the things they should do. My dad drank beer every day of my life. I think he was a pretty good dad. But you know what, Andrew? If I'm going to be close to the Father, Brother Joseph, come on over, you be the Father. If I'm going to be close to the Father, now, tell you what the Father's got. The Father, remember the story of the prodigal? The Father's got everything, right? Andrew, you got nothing. So, if I want to be close to the Father, I'm going to have to be, what's the first word? Hey, Andrew. Love you, dude, man. You cool? You all right? Good on that skateboard? See ya. Because I want what this guy's got. Now, do I hate him? No, I don't hate him. I just can't hang around him. Because he's got what I want. So I'm going to have to be, now, let me look up here. Some of you, you've got some friends you're going to have to separate from. They're not bad. They're just not good for you. I like Andrew, but can't hang around you. Now, you know what? You could give up the cigarette sucking, pot smoking, beer guzzling, and you could come on over with me.
I would love that.
All right, I want to come on over, man. You know what? Now we're good. Now I got my friend and my God. Can't beat that. Isn't that a good thing? All right, thank you, guys. Now, look at Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12. One more thing that you need to do. Now, again, I've got people in my church. I don't know how many people we've got in our church. One family, we've got 4 generations in our church. We got them from the jail ministry. There's some good people end up in jail. They did some dumb things, but they're all right. They're not bad. They just did some bad things. You can do this. You say, oh, Brother Goddard, I've really had some hard time. You can do this. Number 1, you have to be. And number 2, you're going to have to back off from some things. And by the way, your friends are going to say, what's wrong with you? I mentioned it the other night. No, I didn't. I was at church Sunday night. Girls. I know it's really hard for girls to not talk for very long, but we're going to have to give it a try. My best friend in high school, his parents were gone. Remember, we're all unsaved. His parents were gone. He invited all of us over to his house. Lights are down low, music playing, 20, 30 teenagers around the living room, garage area there. And I'm sitting down on the couch just talking with some of the teenagers. I think I was a senior in high school. This was my senior year. And he has a case of beer. And he's walking around the room, this case of beer, just offering beer to everybody. Everybody's taking beer, and he walks by, and he came over to me, and I looked at him, and I said, no thanks. Now, I wasn't judging anybody. I said, no thank you. And he did this. He looked at me, he said, he leaned, it's kind of dark, And he had this case of beer. And he leaned over. He said, "They're going to get you, aren't they, Bruce?" You know what? He'd seen me hanging around some Christians. And I realized if I was going to get the Father and what I wanted, I was going to have to be separate. And he knew it too. He wasn't even saved. He was the one carrying the beer around, but he knew it. If you're going to get close to the Father, you're going to have to separate. And I looked at him. This is my best high school friend. I said, yes, they probably are. I wasn't even a Christian yet. I said, yes, they probably are. And I stood up and walked out of his house and walked out of his life. That was the end of it. I was 18. I don't think we've spoken since. Almost 40 years ago. He's been married, divorced, messed up his life, all kinds of issues. But and I don't think anything less of him, but I'm not trading the Father for that. Is it easy? No. Sometimes your friends are going to push you a little bit. Sometimes it's going to be a girl, my girlfriend. I'm a senior in high school. She and I have been hanging out for 2 years together. Not dating, but we ran the same crowds together. And every time I go to hang around the Christians, she'd pout. You know how girls pout? Oh, you're always around them. I think, shut up. And finally one day, 10 o'clock at night, I get saved. I'm at the park with this guy that I've been friends with, one of the Christians, and I got saved. And the next day, I was with her, because that was Wednesday. I was leaving for college on Saturday, and so I'm with her on Thursday. And I thought, I'm going to tell her I got saved. She and I both just graduated from high school together. And we were talking. I said, hey, by the way, I got saved. Because I decided, you know what? If I'm not going to hell for you, you can go to hell alone if you're going to hell, but I'm not going with you. I said, I got saved. You know how guys, you have to kind of muster up a lot of courage to say anything that might make a girl that you like mad. I'm going to say, I don't care if you like it or not. I got saved. And then girls are so weird. Who can understand a woman? Not even God. She looks at me. She looks at me and starts crying. Oh, girls crying. She starts crying. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with you? And she looked at me, you won't believe this, and she said, couldn't you have brought me and I could have got saved too? I should get mad when I go hang out with the Christians because I wouldn't bring her with me. Well, I didn't know she wanted to go. Why don't you say something, you stupid female? I'd have brought you along. Hard enough for me to, hey, you know what? It is hard to walk away from your friends. It's hard. And I know a lot of you, this is your crowd, but it wasn't my crowd. And I had to walk away from that to get saved, and I had to make that decision. And I had to get all the nerve I had to do that. I couldn't go to her and say, you want to go get saved with me? I couldn't say that. Because if she'd have said no, I probably wouldn't have done it. And so I decided to be, what's our first word? Separate. And I decided I'm not touching this thing. I'm not having anything to do with you. I am done because I want Jesus. Then I found out she wanted to get saved. So that night, that was daytime, and I said, I'll have Mark come talk to you, this friend of ours, little tiny. We had 200 kids in our whole public school. Everybody knew everybody. I mean, you knew all the girls who weren't cross-eyed and bucktooth or whatever, but anyhow. And you knew them, you just pretended you didn't. We had friends, I had friends, triplets in my class. 3 kids, same age, 2 boys and 1 girl, triplets in my class, the Schmunks. Picture the Beverly Hillbillies. They were the neatest family, Schmunks, Doug, Jim, and Cindy Schmunk. They'd never seen the ocean. On our senior trip, we drove all the way 700 miles down to go to Knott's Berry Farm. Before we went to Knott's Berry Farm and Disneyland, we went to the ocean. They'd never seen the ocean. When they saw the ocean fully dressed, they just ran out and jumped right in. I thought, these kids are stupid, man. They're great kids, but they're dumb. But anyhow, then we went to Knott's Berry Farm, then we went to Disneyland, then we drove 700 miles back home. But, hey, boys, you, shh, don't. I know I'm old, boring, and gray-headed and all that, but anyhow. So first word, separate. Sometimes separate from friends. Then touch not the unclean thing. Separate is people, touch not as things. One more thing and I'm done. Romans chapter 12. Romans 12, look there with me. It says, look at verse 2. So that's the wrong verse. I'm in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Romans chapter 12 and verse 2. I was going to quote it, but I better not now that I'm all flustered. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye, one more word, be ye what? Transformed. Now that's, here I am. I'm a brand new Camaro going down the road, right? And shing, 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 shing. And now I'm a monster. You know what that is? That's transformed. Now, the biblical word transform is metamorphosis. Then that means I'm this little green caterpillar and I'm crawling up to a roof somewhere and I weave this cocoon around me, and about 30 days later I pull out my pocket knife and out comes this beautiful wing, this other beautiful wing, and I fly away. That's metamorphosis. Metamorphosis means a whole new creature. That's what happens when you get close to God, when you get saved and when you grow in grace. Now, look at that verse 2, and I'm done. It says, and be not, what's that next word? Conformed. Be not what? Conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your what? Your head. All right. So, first of all, what's our first word? Separate from people. So separate from, and then touch not. What are we not going to not touch? Things. So separate from, touch not things. You're learning. You're going to pass the test. As soon as you pass the test, you get to go eat lunch. Then transform your, third thing, your what? Mind. If you haven't met Brother Gray's little guy, he's his little special education son. That's pretty incredible. But anyway, I hadn't heard that before. That's pretty funny. So, you ready? What's our first word? From people. And then our next word is touch not things. There's some things you shouldn't touch. And then third, what's the Camaro to the monster? Transform by your mind. And that's this. You get the Word of God. Now, if you can't read, you know what's great? If you can't read, the Bible's on DVDs and CDs. I'm not a good reader. I tell you the truth, I was a Dr. Seuss reader until I was in high school and college. I could not read. I was in 6th grade listening to some friends in the library talking about reading Hardy Boy books, thinking, I wish I could read. But I picked this book up and I decided to be what's the word? Transformed by the renewing of my. This book will make you all you need to be. Now, let's see. Andrew, come on up here again. My friend Andrew. Here Andrew and I are. We could be Christian school friends or we could be gang friends. Whatever it is. And I want Christ. I want to get saved. So I get saved. Some soul winner, some bus worker comes by my house. I get saved. You know what? I don't want to just get saved. Brother Joseph, you come back over and be in God's place. I don't want to just be saved. I want to be close to God. And so what I'm going to have to do, Andrew, much as we're friends for life, man. We were in kindergarten together. We both got expelled from kindergarten together. It's great, man. Remember that time? Oh, we don't want to talk about that in church. No. So Andrew and I, we're best friends. But now we're in high school, and I get saved. The bus worker comes by, and I tell him, you know what? Sorry, man. I'm going to have to, what's our first word? Separate from? I'm going to have to distance myself from you, Andrew, no matter how much I love you, because I want to be near the Father. Next, I'm going to need to, what? Touch not. We used to drink. We used to smoke. There's some things I'm going to have to put down. Doesn't mean if people smoke or drink, they're wicked. It's just if you want to get close to the Father, there's some things you're going to need to not touch anymore. And then the third thing, and we better go down a little bit further, Brother Joseph. Third thing, wait a minute, right about here, Andrew says, hey, man, I'll ride the bus with you. I say, really? Oh, man, come on the bus with me. Yeah, my friend Andrew got saved. Now, look, Andrew, if we're doing this thing, can't touch it. You good with that? You all right? All right. Don't lead me into sin, man. I'll kill you. I'll cut your throat for the glory of God. So now Andrew and I have both separated from, and we've decided we're not going to touch the wrong things. Now, we got some head issues, don't we? I used to be able to tell you the names of every Laker player, every UCLA player. I could tell you all the facts and statistics about sport things. Not that sports is bad. But I decided to transform. What's our third word? Transform my what? Mind. To transform my mind. So, first word, separate. Second word's touch not. Third word is transform my mind. And me and Andrew, we're going to start reading our Bible. Isn't that right? I can't read. Can you? Yeah, you can read. Oh, good. You read it to me, man. So we start. I'm going to go home and read Proverbs. What's the date? Do you know? 16th? Today, I'm going to read Proverbs 16. You read Proverbs 16. When you're done, you call me. Send me a text. So I get my text. Oh, man, Andrew's done reading Proverbs 16 already. I got to read Proverbs 16. Tomorrow we get up. Tomorrow, I send him a text. Hey, 8 o'clock in the morning, I already read Proverbs 17. And he and I begin to, what's the third word? Transform through the Word of God. You know what happens? He and I are tight with the Father. You know what's going to happen? He's going to be the youth pastor. Now, me, I'm very shy in front of people. I'm going to run the PA. Maybe one of our other friends is going to be the coach for the ball team. But you can do this. Look at me. Girls, you can do this. You can all do it. If we met you in the jail, you can do this. You can. Now, we're all not going to be preachers because God didn't want, somebody's got to sit in the pew. Somebody's got to do junior church. Somebody's got to sing. Somebody's got to play the piano. Hannah is amazing, isn't she? And who's that sissy guy who plays for the tour group? No, I'm joking. Some guy's got to know how to play for the tour group. Now, he may not be able to preach, but he can play. So Andrew and I, real quick and I'm done. Come back over here, Andrew. First thing, what's our first word? So I chose to separate from the wrong crowd, and then he joined me. He separated too. Come on with me, Andrew. We're in this thing together. And then we decided we were going to, what's the two words? We're going to not touch that bottle, pornography, whatever it is. We're done. We're done with the dope. No more sniffing, no more snorting, no more shooting, no more whatever. We're done. But you know what? Our brains are still pretty stupid. Like, yo, dude. Those are three non-English colloquialisms that mean nothing. You know, like, I sat down at dinner with a bunch of our college students one day, and I said, every time you use the word like improperly, you got to put a dime in that cup. I put a cup in the middle of the table. We were at a buffet. You know what they did? You don't even believe it. Teresa was with me, Patty. You know Teresa, my sister. I had Teresa and about a dozen teenagers sitting around me, college students. And I said, I'm tired of people not even knowing English grammar. You're butchering my language. It's a buffet, all you can eat. First one got up, filled their plate, sat at another table. Pretty soon I'm there by myself with my cup. And you know what my sister did? She put in 3 dimes. So that's for the next 3 times. Anyway, you know what? We need our brains fixed, don't we, Andrew? And so we begin to renew our mind, to transform. What's the third word? Transform our mind with the Word of God. Thank you, guys. You could do this. You can be seated. Everyone in here could do this. I don't know who's going to be the next math teacher at Pacific Baptist Schools, but you could be, if that's your area. You could be the next youth pastor. I mean, how long are we going to put up with somebody? I'm blanking on his name now. Brother Ross. How long are you going to put? I mean, he's old. You know, you could be the next Brother Ross. Right? All right, he wants to be the next brother Ross. So what's he got to do first? Separate. Then he's get from what? Can't hang around him no more. He's a bad influence on you. Then he's going to have to what? Touch not the things. Going to have to get rid of that, I don't know what, Justin Bieber poster. And then he's going to have to, what's the third word? Transform his. And we use the Bible for that. And 10 years from now, Brother Ross decides he's called to Cambodia. What's your name? Brother Joseph gets in the phone. Hey, Brian, I need to see you. Brother Ross is gone. You'd be interested in helping out? And Brian drops the phone. Clank, 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 clank. And he dies of a heart attack. I promise you, the world can't give you that. You can spend your whole life working at Chick-fil-A and still be making milkshakes. But if you'll separate, touch not, and transform your mind, God will use you in a great way. Promise you. I promise you He will. Let's pray.